What is going on, everybody? Today I have a big time comparison / review. I'm looking at the Garmin Edge 530 and comparing it directly against their 830 to tell you what you should buy. There's a lot to cover, so let's jump in. Straight off the bat, the 530 and the 830 both have about 1 million features in total. So I'm not going to cover everything because this video would be about an hour long and ain't nobody got time for that. So let's start with what you don't get in the 530 from the 830. First and foremost, you don't get a touchscreen. You also don't get address-specific routes, and you don't get some of the navigation features that are really deep in the 830, like being able to find various points of interest, businesses, addresses, and all that sort of stuff. I never use that stuff anyway, so I most certainly don't miss it. Apart from that, the 530 is remarkably similar to the 830, as you can tell by just straight up looking at them. Which leads us into hardware. They are ostensibly the same case, except for a few buttons extra on the 530. They are in fact so similar that I have to check to see which one I've picked up when I go to grab them. They both have the typical Garmin sleekness and very nice aesthetic. I do truly think that Garmin make the best looking GPSs on the market. So let's jump in with the 530, and setup is quite annoying. There is no smartphone setup, and I think I've been complaining about that for maybe 2.5 years. The 830's touchscreen is very quick at changing settings and getting things where you want them. I found this much quicker to set up. The 530 is, just so many menus. That Garmin interface is still not very good, and it is especially not very good when you have to navigate it with buttons. That can take quite a long time just because of the sheer number of options in here. Now, when you're setting up, it of course has ANT+ and Bluetooth protocols. I connected it to so many different things, different power meters, different heart rate monitors, different cadence sensors. Everything was fine, no problems. I even used it with the Garmin Varia Lite and it functions perfectly with that as well. Yeah, it's just really good. Everything connected and had no dropouts at all. After approximately 3 hours of setting it up, you will be ready to go for a ride, at which point you will start to notice that the maps and navigation are really good. You still get all of the integrations with Komoot, Ride with GPS, and Strava routes. I love being able to go straight to all the routes I have saved from those platforms on the device. And out in the world, you will notice that the maps are very nice indeed. They'll show bus stops, vineyards, forests, bodies of water, creeks, rivers, all kinds of stuff. It's really cool to see, and really cool to see on the 530. Following routes is something that is a bit patchy with Garmin's. If the route is fairly straightforward, it doesn't have any problems, but if there is complexity in it and it has to recalculate, it really freaks them out. Same as the 830, it's really quick to recommend you do a U-turn, and the recalculations are sometimes so quick that it just gives you so many instructions so quickly, it actually gives you the wrong instructions. Again, as I said, most routes it's fine. The occasional route where it freaks it out can be extremely frustrating. The 530 also has excellent battery life. I did one ride that was over 10 hours of moving. I had the backlight on auto and I had full navigation running the whole time. The end of it still had 43% battery left. That is really, really good, and I'm so glad that Garmin has addressed their battery issues. Some of their older models, you know, a lot of people complained about that, and rightly so. The batteries did not have great life, and they didn't have great longevity either. So units, as they got a couple of years old, started to really drop off in battery life. We'll see how this goes. It's still pretty new, so yeah, we'll check back in a couple of years. Both of these units come with the new Climb Pro feature, which was given a lot of attention when it launched. It's a system that analyzes your courses and compiles a list of climbs. When you come up to the climb, it'll give you the distance, the gradients, and a few other stats to kind of lead you through it and graphically show you where the gradients are. Generally, it's an okay system. I find it tends to preference long climbs. So you might get 7 kilometers at 3% rather than something like 1 kilometer at 6 or 7%, which to me is actually more of a coherent climb. It just sort of stitches things together that don't really make a lot of sense. It's a fine feature, but I don't really miss it if I'm not using it, but some people like it, so good to see it in the 530. Now the 530 still has Garmin's fantastic Strava live segment integration. Oh, it's just so good. They've also added the ability to put data screens on, so you can gauge your progress against a Strava live segment with like a 3 or 10 second power or something, which is super cool. That's something that I wanted from older units and it's now available, so awesome. It's just a great system. You get the profile of the segment you're targeting and all kinds of detail on how you're going against it. Also, your starred segments will show up on the ride map as well, so you can see all the starred segments in the area where you're riding. It's a great system. Strava integration with Garmin is fantastic. There is a ton of training and workout features as well. I haven't spent much time doing this sort of stuff because I tend to run my own workouts based on efforts and stuff that I already know that I want to target. So I've just done a little bit of experimenting and it's fine. You can build workouts and it runs a calendar of them, so you can just go in and see what's programmed for a particular day, and it'll run you through the workouts themselves. For the power nerds, there are the cycling dynamics features that are very good if you have a left-right power meter. I have the Favero Asioma Duos, and I love the screen that they give you to monitor your left-right power, your pedaling phase, like all kinds of stuff. It's just a huge amount of data. Then once you've uploaded it into Garmin Connect, it's an excellent way to analyze your pedaling action. This is stuff for the huge nerds, but if you have that, then you will really appreciate the amount of data you can get from it. Now, once you are done with the ride, there's also so many things that it tracks. It gives you training status, heat acclimatization, you can enter in your hydration and your calories, and it's all backed by the Garmin Connect phone app, which has just gone from strength to strength over the last couple of years. I really use Garmin Connect a lot because I also have a Vivo Active watch, and I find it is such a good platform for sort of tracking everyday activity, sleep, heart rate, and then your cycling activities as well. It's just a great platform, and I think that's something that's really come to separate Garmin over the last couple of years. There's not really many alternatives within the cycling world from Wahoo or anyone else that sort of can have that holistic tracking feature. So that's a really strong point of the Garmin ecosystem. There's also the stack of safety features, incident detection, bike alarm, the live track system, that's all still there. There is so much packed into this unit. Then once you're done, you can upload via Wi-Fi and via Bluetooth with your phone. It all connects through to the services that you want it to, whether it's Strava, Training Peaks, Today's Plan, or whatever. It all happens seamlessly. So overall, the 530 is such an impressive unit. Now let's talk about how it compares directly to the 830. Australian pricing from Garmin puts this at $500 for the unit only, and $650 for the unit for the 830. And personally, I'm going with the 530, and here's why. I don't love touch screens when you're riding. When you're interacting with the device, touchscreen is better every day of the week. You can get through the menus quicker, you can change settings so much faster. It is so much easier with a touchscreen when you're just using the device. When you're on the bike though, I found the touchscreen really annoying because it's not a very big touchscreen. You have to be very exact with your pressing, and that's just not convenient when you're riding and when you're in motion. It can be quite annoying to try and use the touchscreen when you're on the bike. I also just don't like how dirty your screen gets when you're sort of like swiping across it to change pages. In Australian summer, it gets just caked with sunscreen and salt and sweat, and it's super gross and I don't like it. And then in winter, it is completely bamboozled by thick gloves. So the touchscreen is better off the bike. Personally, I like buttons when you're on it. Other than that, it's just the features I mentioned at the top, some of their really specific navigational features that I don't really use because I have a smartphone. So if touchscreens aren't an absolute deal breaker for you, save $150 and go with the 530. I actually think this is the ultimate Garmin. Not because it's necessarily the outright best unit, but it crams so much of what's great about the Garmin ecosystem into a fairly cheap package from the sort of upper end of Garmin computers. 530, 830, 1030. There's still plenty of annoyances in here. The user interface is bad. It takes so long to adjust certain things. Just getting down to change a single data field is probably about 6 menu levels just to do one thing. And you know, we're really far down that path with Garmin. I just don't see them getting any better at that anytime soon until smartphone setup comes out, which who knows if it ever even will. This is a really excellent unit, and it's the one that I choose to be my sort of daily driver, everyday unit. It's not perfect by any means, but when you factor in the crazy number of features, the fact that $500 at Garmin pricing, you can find it for cheaper than that if you look around. If you factor that in, I think that dollar for dollar, it is a fantastic unit. And I think the feature set will please pretty much everyone. I can't think of too much that it doesn't have that people really want or really need. The only thing I haven't tested this thing with is smart trainers. I am getting a smart trainer soon, so maybe I'll do a test of it again for that. But until then, this is the unit for me, and I'm very happy with it. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm gonna leave it there. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I've got all kinds of other videos on GPSs and other things too. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and I look forward to a time when we can all go and ride outside like normal with all of our friends. Depending on when you're watching this video, that might be completely mysterious, but April 2020, that is a genuine wish. So take care, guys. I'll see you next time.